What's up guys, Raziel here, and in this video I decided to put together something really quick because as a raid leader and a guild leader, again, I don't know, it happened to me again, that's what I am again. I decided to throw together some of the best ways that you can become much better at any MMO you play. Doesn't matter what MMO it is, these rules will still apply. So if you're a player that's struggling with becoming better DPS, better survivability, or a better healer, it doesn't matter. All of these will help you. So why don't you f***ing watch?
I am Raziel.
Okay guys, first and foremost, I will be using World of Warcraft to show these examples, and don't let that distract you if you play a different MMO. If you don't play World of Warcraft, that's completely fine. All of these will be the same. They'll be the same levels of advice, and all these tips will function in any MMO that you play because they're universal rules, and you'd actually be surprised how many people don't do these, or don't do these well, I should say. Don't focus enough on them to become really good at these aspects of whichever MMO they play. Now, I'm not going to go over a certain number of things because they're just, you know, common sense, and I've said them in plenty of other fucking videos at this point. So I'll just skim over those topics really quickly. If you haven't done these things, then do these things, okay? So first of all, if you're playing an MMO, always research your damn class. There are plenty of outlets, like World of Warcraft has Icy Veins, Wowhead, Methods website for pretty much every class and spec, your rotation, all that stuff. That's not what this video is about. It's about your rotations. You should know that already, that there's plenty of information for every MMO out there. Like Final Fantasy XIV has its Discord and forums. Elder Scrolls Online, I'm sure, has a bunch of outlets. There are countless YouTube videos of guides for pretty much every class, job that ever has existed in any MMO and will ever exist. So just go over those if you don't know your class, okay? A second thing I've mentioned in other videos, boss guides. Before you go into a difficult raid or an encounter or dungeon, and you have that anxiety because you don't know what to do, just watch a quick guide on the dungeon online and figure it out. Figure out the mechanics, learn them, right? It's not that hard to do. Or, at the very end of the day, if you see somebody else who has really good gear as the class you play, just ask them. It's an MMORPG, for Christ's sakes. Just ask them, not ask them, damn, ask them. And I'm sure most people would be happy to give you some tips. No, that's not what we're going to be talking about in this video, though. The first thing I want to point out is, please, for the love of God, get down movement. This is a key problem. I see a lot of new players and even players who have been playing the game for a while. What do I mean by movement? Use your WASD keys. They're your prime way to move, right? And incorporate your mouse. No keyboard turning or backpedaling ever. So if you're wondering what a keyboard turner is, I'm sure you've all seen one. This, you can tell between a keyboard turner, and a mouse turner. This is how a keyboard turner would turn to counter an ability he's going to be hit by, like a ground effect or something. And this happens in Final Fantasy XIV, WoW, every game. This is a keyboard turner. Okay, look how long it takes to move. Like if something's a mechanic's coming up, okay, oh yeah, that's a keyboard turner, all right? I'm only using the keyboard to turn my character. That's bad. And this is bad too. Doing this. You should never, almost under any circumstance, backpedal to dodge a mechanic. You're just asking to get your ass kicked. Don't do it. So what do you do instead? Well, quite simple. You use your mouse. Look how fast I can turn just by using the mouse and keyboard. You can strafe out of things quicker, and still, don't ever do this. Don't ever backpedal, right? If you need to go backwards, if I'm doing something, right? If I'm attacking this mob right here, and I'm hitting him with, all these spells and shit, and then an ability comes down and is landing right here, don't do this to get out of it. Do this. Do this. Or if you have no other option than to go backwards, don't do this. Turn and go. Okay? No backpedaling. No keyboard turning ever. Nothing reveals a noob faster than someone doing that shit. All right? Okay, next up, and this is really important because this is something that I see a huge problem of, and that is use keyboard and mouse bindings, okay? Set bindings on your mouse and on your keyboard. Ideally, you would want to set, bindings on buttons that are close to WASD. On my keyboard, for example, I use, WASD as movement, but then for abilities, I'll use Q, Shift Q, E, Shift E, F, Shift F, C, V. Buttons are all relatively close. X, Z. These buttons are close, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. I almost never ever actually go up to 5. It's too far of a distance, in my opinion. It may not be for you. You may have longer fingers than me, but I go up to 5. Okay? So, yeah, you want to pay attention to those things, okay? You find out what's comfortable for you. In addition, I highly recommend you get your hands on a good MMO gaming mouse. There are a lot of them out there. The Logitech G600 is my personal favorite. Razer Naga is a good one. Razer makes some good ones. Corsair has one. I'm actually giving away a Logitech G600 mouse this Thursday, July 16th, live on stream. If you're interested, check it out. But there are so many buttons you can bind on an MMO gaming mouse. Literally so many different combinations. I can't even tell you how many. So just get a good MMO mouse you're comfortable with and bind these things, your abilities that you use the most, to them. Literally the only abilities I never keybind are abilities that I never want to accidentally fat finger because they're such powerful and long cooldowns, for example. So I'll make that one a click. But I'm telling you this right now. If you're a clicker, your survivability is going to suck as a tank compared to people who aren't clickers. Your DPS is going to suck as a DPS, and your healing is going to suffer and suck, and people are going to die because it takes too long to move around, right? Like if I was trying to do my DPS rotation just with keys, right? Like it takes too long to go through it and click everything. Okay? As opposed to, like how much faster I can just hit buttons and, do things that way, right? So, you're not going to be able, also you're going to be terrible in PvP because you're not going to be able to react to things fast enough if you're clicking on these abilities, all right? Now, since we just talked about keybinds and, your mouse binds, how do you know when you've gotten good enough? Because it's going to take some practice. It's going to take a lot of practice to get to this point. You're at that point when you never ever have to look down at your keyboard or your mouse to see which button you're pressing. Ever. If you're ever having to look down at your keyboard or mouse, you're doing it wrong. Like you're not there yet, okay? There's a couple recommendations I can give about how to, avoid looking down. You could hire a midget or a dwarf, okay, be politically correct, a dwarf, to sit under your desk, have a webcam set up so, he can watch you, and every time you look down at your keyboard or at your mouse, he'll punch you in the dick. Or you could, go the route I went, which is where you just simply get some rusty nails or some, tetanus infected thumbtacks and set them on your keys that don't have keybinds on them. It also makes it more interesting too when you need to type to somebody. You'll really only talk when you absolutely have to at that point. So if you're an annoying person, then that helps you out too in that regard. But really, guys, all joking aside, you should never look at your keyboard or mouse. Speaking of where you're looking, this is the second to last tip that I have. As you can see on my screen here, and I have it set up exactly the same in Final Fantasy XIV, I have my target and my own health bars relatively close to my action buttons, all my buttons, right? Including my weak auras. And you can do this in Final Fantasy as well. You can drag things down, right? The reason I do this is because most MMOs by default put health bars and target bars up in your upper left-hand corner. That's usually their default spot. The reason why top tier players move it down here is because while you're doing your rotation and you're, you know, paying attention to what mechanics are coming out and what interrupts you need to, you know, put out because you're watching the cast bar, if it's all right here, you're looking in the same place you'd be looking anyway to hit your abilities. You're looking in the same place. So your eyes don't have to track all the way up to this corner, which then you're missing everything that's happening down here. You know, if you're like, oh shit, I got hit real hard. What's my health? And you look up there, or oh, what's the boss casting? And you look up in this fucking corner, you're missing mechanics that are coming in and hitting the ground. You're more likely to miss, you know, like when something procs on one of your abilities. Just keep everything in a tidy fashion where your eyes are going to be naturally at anyway. Then you don't have to look all over the screen to try to keep up with everything. And pretty much, guys, those are my biggest tips on how you can improve in any MMO RPG, especially if you're wanting to get into harder content. One other piece of advice I can offer, because this is something I see a lot of people fall into this trap, especially in a game like World of Warcraft. It's not as common in actually, yeah, no, I take that back. It is fucking common in Final Fantasy XIV. I think it's probably common in every MMO. Is if you're an altaholic, right? Now, if the entire way you play a game is you just love alts, you have no intention on really doing high-end content, you just like playing multiple characters all the time, you never really want to raid or do high-end PvP or anything like that, you're just really casual and interested in getting transmog or glamour or whatever, that's completely fine. This isn't a problem at that point. But if you are wanting to high-end raid and you are wanting to get into high-end PvP, you need to fucking cool it with the alts, okay? Because if you just keep rolling a bunch of alts and keep bouncing from character to character, and you never make up your mind on what character is your main, you don't spend enough time on your main, the end result is you're going to be bad to mediocre at best at 5 or 6, 7 different classes or jobs or whatever, and you're not going to be good at any of them. While if you focus on one main and then maybe dabble in a little bit with one alt or something, but the majority of your time is spent on getting the best you can with all the possible builds and spec of your main character or whatever MMO you play, and you don't stop until you're exceptional on that character, that's when you're going to see the most results, and you're going to start getting invited to groups more. And that has nothing to do with meta. I'm not saying play the meta class, because fuck the meta, you know, fuck playing meta. Play what you like the most, but stick with it and become good at it. Don't be just okay at a lot of stuff. Be fucking awesome at one thing. It's so much better, in my opinion. But anyway, guys, those are my tips for becoming better at any MMORPG. If you're interested in the patent pending Edge keyboard that I'm coming out with, which is just a bunch of rusty nails and you know, just really fucked up things attached to your keys to cause you severe amounts of pain, and tiny people sitting under your desk, not servicing you in a positive way, but punching you in the genitals, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll add you to my beta test, and I'll send some of those models out for you. But speaking of sending a model out, as I said earlier, I'm giving away a Logitech G600 gaming mouse, and it will be this Thursday, the 16th, live on stream. I'll be starting streaming in between 4 and 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and I'll be giving it away at the end of the stream. So if you've ever watched any of my streams, you come in, you earn toxic masculinity points, and you can spend those for a chance to win. I'm not giving any kind of favoritism towards subscribers or anything like that. So yeah, just come hang out and have a good time with us. But anyway, guys, my Twitch shit's on the screen now. As always, my friends, keep it real.